So Taylor, I have a dirty little secret to share with you.
Oh no.
I've been on the fence for a long time about going to editions.dev. And obviously I've been going back and forth, back and forth. And you know what finally pushed me over the edge? It
What?
was you because you put on this SDA pre-event. And I was looking at the location that you guys
The
got for it.
popcorn machine?
And there was a free popcorn machine. I was like, okay,
You're
I'm in.
ridiculous.
I have to go. Here we go. Hey
All right.
everyone, welcome back to another exciting edition of the Liquid Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Karl Meisterheim, and with me, as always, the handsome, the esteemed Taylor Page. Taylor, hello.
Hi, Carl. That was such a nice intro. You started with the handsome. I was like, oh man, this is
Oh yeah, I
thanks,
thought
buddy.
Karl was talking about me, but
I know. I was like, you're gonna introduce Prakhar. Is this the answer? I was gonna say that
Okay.
I got taken by FoxSell. That's why I'm repping the gear here. But no, you're trying to
oh yeah,
replace me.
Well, okay, so much for having like a cool intro for Prakhar. You ruined it, Prakhar. You're supposed to stay
sorry.
silently in the background, lurking until I give you this amazing thing.
Lurking?
Okay, here we
Prakhar
go.
doesn't lurk.
Taylor, did you know that we only do this podcast for one person? And it's to help him with his workout regimen. And that person is here today with us to talk about his transformation and fitness, but also cart transformations.
Oh,
Welcome, Prakhar, the co-founder
Thanks,
of
guys.
FoxSell. Prakhar, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, it's been my dream moment. I've been dreaming about this moment for a long time. Been preparing my answers during I'm working out. So it's pretty amazing to be here finally.
Well,
nice.
we take
And
this very seriously, so don't blow it.
oh, of course. And I love the T-shirt that Taylor has put on today.
Yep,
Amazing
because
job.
I got this at
Yeah,
Editions last year where Carl was
yeah.
not.
Well, I'm going
But
to Editions this year to get a
I say you're
t-shirt,
going
so
this year.
Oh,
is there going to be
Just
oh
one
yeah,
there?
yeah, definitely. There's going to be one.
it's just you're just going for
H.
the Foxcell t-shirt. That's the only reason. So Prakhar, you have to bring him a
Yeah, it's
t-shirt.
just one expensive t-shirt, so.
Oh, this time is going to be amazing, man. We were just planning out a swag recently with the Adi, and
Yeah.
it's gonna come out really well.
You guys' swag game was like really really good. Like at Editions, I was like, oh man, like this is like super impressive. Like this is so well thought out, and even for the last event that y'all did too, like because they sent me something, Carl. I don't know if you got anything, but like
Oh,
this awesome little swag box, and it was just so well thought out. So if
oh
if
yeah.
the Shopify app game does not work out for y'all could just do a service of like curating awesome swag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all thanks to Adi, by the way. It's him and his brain. That's just keep on super creative.
He's the mastermind. That's awesome. Look
Yeah.
at you. So humble.
So
No,
humble.
I'm just the one
Um,
distributing.
Prakar, if you guys are done making me feel bad about the whole t-shirt thing, when we start off, we'd like to hear about people's background. So for those who don't know you and didn't understand your journey of how you became such a fit, wonderful Shopify developer, can you give us just a few uh, journeys about your past and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey has been very conventional in terms of software engineering and software development. Um, I started out my school to become an engineer. Then I did my engineering in computer science, and then I got a job, which was very conventional. Got a job at a very small startup. Then I got a job at a very big company in India called Zomato. I'm not sure if you've all heard of that, but it's a pretty big, one of the biggest startups in India. And then when I was leaving Zomato, then I was just giving out interviews, thinking about, planning my next stint. And then I cleared a bunch of interviews, thought, okay, let's just chill a bit. And Shashank called me out of nowhere, founder of Pushout. And he was like, why don't you just interview here? So I was like, yeah, sure, let me just give an interview. And, for the experience, anyway, I'm going to like some of the Amazons and stuff. So I'll just give an interview here. And then I talked to Shashank, I talked to the team at Pushout, and then I was like, okay, I think we can skip all that stuff and join Pushout. So that's how I came into Shopify ecosystem.
And what year was
Uh,
that?
that was actually 2020. Yeah, about
Okay.
5 years ago. And then I joined Pushout. There I met Aditya. And I think Just after I joined Pushaol, one year later, we were able to sell Pushaol, and then me and Aditya got out of Pushaol and we started our own company. So that's like a very brief statement of how I got into Shopify ecosystem. But before that, I when I was in college, when I was even in school, I was very excited about computers and I was very excited about programming in general. And then I went on to college and started preparing for job interviews. And with job interviews, there comes that data structures and algorithms. So did that a lot in my life and loved that. I was not into development as much I was in the data structures and algorithms sort of things.
Nice.
And then after I joined a company after colleges, then I got into actual development stuff, actual end-to-end things, because for me, I've always loved working in startups and not in very huge companies. So
So
that gives you the, sorry, yeah.
was that in the web space, that initial work you're doing, or was it in a different domain?
Yeah, so it was in web space. It was a company called AgriChain, which was building a centralized platform for farmers in Australia. So it was an end-to-end B2B SaaS, which gave you the whole insights of how a company functions, building product from scratch, building the front end, building the back end, and then doing all the infrastructure side of things as well at a larger scale. So that was pretty amazing experience. And when I joined Zomato, their scale was actually insane. Any feature you launch, anything you launch, you get the impact within 30 minutes. So that's like their services that I used to build used to get the throughput of like 250,000 requests per minute. That sort of scale I'm talking about. So that's insane, literally insane. Like everybody in this country uses Zomato to order food online. So that's an insane amount of scale. So there I learned a lot of things in terms of how to create microservices, how to handle scale, how to set up these kind of things when you want to handle a lot of scale. So that's where my most technical development, I would say, happened. And then when I joined Pushout, I actually got into Shopify ecosystem and e-commerce and just blew my mind away. Just to imagine how you can actually build on top of a platform and still be able to impact so many brands and so many businesses at a large level. So that was something that was pretty amazing for me.
So, you can tell a lot about a developer, Prakhar, by what editor they use. What kind of guy are you, Prakhar? Are you an Emacs
Oh my
guy?
gosh.
Are you a Vim guy? Are you a VS Code guy? Or
Oh
do
my
you just
God.
write Ruby and IRB?
This is going to be very embarrassing. For my backend stuff, for the longest time, I used JetBrains
Okay.
because that was just amazing in terms of what all it can do. And after a certain point of time, you just get used to the shortcuts and everything inside an IDE, and then you just don't want to move. And that happened to me for the longest time. But when I started into building the full stack side of applications, when I started my own company, so I had to build the front end side of things, the back end side of things, each and everything. Then I actually switched to VS Code for the front end side of things. I still use JetBrains for my backend, which is Python Django. And by the way, Zomato, which I told you, one of the best companies, that uses Ruby on Rails,
It
which
does?
is absolutely crazy. We
This
had
whole
to,
thing is
so
a
we
setup. This is what
no
this
no
was all
no.
about.
I was of the mindset that Python is amazing language and Django is an amazing framework. Then I got in touch with Ruby and Ruby on Rails. It's like should not be
Mm.
called Ruby on Rails. It should be called Ruby on steroids because it's actually so amazing. And once I started writing tests in RSpec, I don't think I ever liked any testing framework. It's like you're writing English. So that was pretty amazing. But yeah, so I use JetBrains for my backend stuff and everything else is VS Code was, but now I've switched to Windsurf, which is pretty awesome.
Ooh, windsurf. Have you done a comparison between Cursor and windsurf?
I felt Windsurf, when I was using Windsurf versus Cursor, I'm pretty sure like nowadays you can't just get like an annual plan of any AI tool, because just 1 month after the other they are just one-upping each other every month.
Yeah.
So when I was using Cursor and when I used Windsurf, I felt Windsurf was exactly the AI tool that should be. For example, like for very basic things like cross component suggestion would be, if I added a method in one component, and then when I'm passing it as a prop to my next component, it automatically suggests, okay, you created this, you want to pass to the new this child component, and then you go inside the component and you want to add that a prop as well. So then it suggests in the cross component scheme of things that, okay, you added a property in that component, do you want to add that as a property here as well? So that way it just seemed very intuitive, so it became like all about tabs. I'm pretty sure Cursor would be there now, but when I switched to Windsurf, it was more like Windsurf was pretty amazing. And then
My experience was more like I turned off all the autocompletes and I just used the agent, like, because the autocompletes have not been great. Like, well, not that they're not great, it's just that it's a lot of back and forth. But it sounds like maybe Windsurfer has it kind of figured out where like it actually works pretty well. So I honestly have not tried Windsurfer yet because so many people were like, Cursor's awesome, and I was like, oh
oh,
yeah,
you
I
should
was using VS
definitely.
Coding Copilot, and
Oh, how was
that
that?
was like, I was like, this is not the AI experience everyone's talking about. Like, this can't be it. Like, why is everyone saying they're getting better results? Is my code that bad that it's learning from mine and it's that bad? But it was like, it was a huge switch to go from Cursor. So I need to try Windsurfer.
Yeah, Windsurf is actually amazing, and it actually takes context from your clipboards as well. So if you copy something, it automatically suggests that we want to paste it. This makes more sense to paste it here. Do you want to do that? I mean, yeah, sure, why not? So,
Sure.
so, so that's pretty amazing experience. Apart from agents I feel is very similar to in Cursor and Windsurf. I didn't use as much in Cursor, but when I used in Windsurf, it was amazing. But I didn't have that comparison because I didn't use that much in Cursor. But this auto suggestion is something that was pretty evident when I used Windsurf. So yeah.
Nice.
I've been trying hard to get to that level that people on Twitter seem to be achieving with using Cursor.
The
But
vibe
honestly, my
coding.
experience is driving me. I'm thinking of starting a website called Damn It Cursor, where I'm just going to write all the ways that Cursor has made me mad and let me down, which has been quite a few. So maybe it's just me and I don't know what I'm doing, but I've tried very hard to use Cursor rules, to add context, do docs, but man, it's
No,
much.
but I'll give you a very good example of this. So when I was using Windsurf and I wanted to create like a one template for our app, which was just a very simple template where you can actually buy like a pack of three or something. Um, but the problem is like it's well trained in a particular language, but it's not well trained when accessing liquid or when accessing meta fields and meta objects. So the way I did was I just gave Windsurf a file of, okay, here's a dump of how you access these properties, how you access the meta field. This is the structure of meta field. And then then I use the agent, and in about like a day, it built out that template without even like me doing most of the stuff. So that was actually pretty amazing, given that it was able to access the meta fields and meta objects quite easily. And it was actually bundling the stuff on the checkout by reading the docs. So that was pretty insane. And we were able to basically sell that template a lot of times since then. So it's basically 1 day of effort, and then you can just go out and do business. So that was pretty insane. That's where I fell in love with Windsurf and I bought it.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that you're getting some success with it. Maybe one of these days, Taylor and I will figure this whole AI thing out too. Until then, we'll just keep living vicariously through people's Twitter posts. Well,
Absolutely.
did you want to share anything else about your background, or should we jump into what we really came here to talk about, which was not Taylor's hair, which is amazing today. Looks very nice, Taylor. But
Thank you.
cart transformations.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump on.
Cart transformations for car. What are they? And why do we care?
All right. So cart transformation, I think it's been launched about 2 years ago by Shopify. That's basically a way for you to transform your cart or bundle your cart in a way where by applying some business logic so that you can club some of the products together uh, in the checkout or in the cart. So essentially, the most common use case is bundling items, where what happens is there are three ways of doing a cart transformation. Let me start by two, which is either expand or merge. Expand is, let's say you order or you add one product into cart, which has three items. Let's say a set of a skincare set, right? And you order that and you add that to the cart. And using expand operation, what you can do is you say, okay, if this particular product is in the cart, can you expand it into these three products? So that is how you can transform your cart and make one product convert into three products using expand operation. And the second one is merge operation. Merge operation is slightly opposite, where what you do is, okay, if these three products are in the cart, can you merge them into this single product, which is the skincare set? So that is the other way of bundling. So these are the two most common ways available to all Shopify plans, because I've heard a lot of people think that it's only available for Plus. Available to all plans, you can do expand, you can do merge, and these are done via Shopify functions. So this is essentially what the purpose of cart transformation is. And a lot of apps and a lot of the way people actually to this day are doing bundling are using discounts heavily. So instead of doing this bundling thing or transforming the cart, what they're doing is they're detecting, okay, if these products are there with a certain line item properties, we'll just apply a discount to them, and then we'll consider them as part of the bundle. But that comes with its own issues. I'm sure you would know, where uh, when it's like bigger bundles, especially mix and match, the cart and checkout actually becomes too crowded. So for the customer to actually see what they've ordered, it just becomes very difficult to see. And then you're using a lot of discount codes and discounting. So sometimes what happens is those discounts are not uh, they are not usable with other discounts, or sometimes they are, and then your discount analytics is a little bit screwed. So all of those things comes with its own problems, and of course, like, both of them has pros and cons. Like discounting has its own pros, card transformation has its own pros. It's just a personal choice, I feel. But essentially, it's the way to go for the future, where you want to do bundling using card transformation and keep the discount for discounting.
Yeah,
So the
and
obvious, oh, sorry.
let's say the UI on like how it works when you do the bundling. We're using FoxSell example because that's what y'all use, right? Like here, and it is really nice.
Let's hope.
Oh, you got the animations going. I always forget when those things are on. And I'm like, oh no, now I'm like hiding my hands the rest of the meeting,
Oh
and I'm
my
like
God.
until I can get it off. So it's really nice because it puts everything into the single product, but then you kind of see the products like within. So like it is really nice, and that was one of the things too. I think you actually helped me out that one of the first bundles that I ended up doing. That I had to use that is line item components as well, so that way they can show up in the cart really nice as well.
Yeah.
So that's really nice to be able. Before we kind of had to do some hacky stuff, right? Like with we were using maybe cart line item properties just to kind of be like, hey, like we want these items to be together, and so you could indicate that. But then we're doing some funky stuff in the cart to try to make that all look like a unified experience for the customer. But then they hit checkout and they see something a little bit different. The nice thing about like the way that bundles are done now through the cart transform API this way is like it's just all unified. So it's a product. We have like this base product, and then you can kind of see the choices or whatever that make up that bundle. So I think it like comes across really nice, and you don't have to get hacky with it like what I've been doing for a while.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of scope. So essentially, like I said, it's just been 2 years since this technology has come in. So a lot of the surrounding ecosystem has to also accommodate this particular technology in order for it to grow. So there are so many aspects of this particular space that is not being accommodated by the surrounding apps. So for example, in a particular bundle, the initial problem was when you're creating a bundle, let's say, for example, you are selling individual items and you are selling bundles. So now if you are doing that, you have to manage inventory for the bundle separately, and you have to manage the inventory of the individual SKU separately, right? Now, when this particular technology came in, you don't have to do that. You can actually manage the inventory from single source, which is the individual SKU, right? And you don't have to manage the inventory of the bundle, which is a great thing for a lot of businesses because inventory is a pain. But the problems that comes with it is, one is the returns, definitely, because essentially bundles was an separate SKU. So either you could return a complete bundle or you cannot return a bundle. But now, since the items are split into individual SKUs, customers are able to return an individual item from the bundle. So now the onus is on the return apps to actually see if the particular item that has been ordered is a bundle or not, and let the merchants or the brands configure the return rules for a bundle separately and for individual SKU separately. And the best thing is that I think a lot of people don't know about, the bundle information for an order is actually stored within Shopify and actually stored on a line item level. So you don't need to integrate with any app. You don't need to integrate with FoxSell to understand if this particular product was bought as a bundle. You can actually build it in such a way that you are an app agnostic technology. So that way you are integrated with all the bundle apps at once. You don't need to integrate with FoxSell. You don't need to integrate with any other bundle app. You can integrate with the technology itself. So that way it gives a lot of power in the hands of the brands, and not like you don't have to integrate with a lot of apps.
Do you see a lot of themes? I know we're talking about apps too, but have themes kind of caught up even with this, like for like the cart view, like with a lot of this, with like we talked about, like using like line item components like in the cart to display that. At least the ones that I've worked in, I've had to add that. Have you seen any themes that have caught up to that, where you guys haven't had to do anything custom to make that show up in the cart the way that it should?
No, so I've seen Rebuy do that really well, where Rebuy has actually integrated with their card drawer with the bundle components. So if anybody is using Rebuy, first of all, I think the technology is pretty amazing in terms of what they've built in a card drawer. So you don't need to add anything or trigger any event. When you add to cart, it just opens the cart drawer. So that makes our life very easy because you don't have to integrate with that particular cart drawer specifically. But essentially, I think a lot of the themes and a lot of the cart apps as well, they have not yet accommodated the bundle components into their cart drawers. And as a result, we have to add those line item properties, which is the selection of the customer, so that when you're going to the cart, you can actually see the choices that was selected by the customer, even if you can't see the components. Because in the checkout, you will anyway see the components, and on the order, once the order is placed and the order is coming into your OMS, you'll see the individual SKUs. But in the cart, I think they're yet to uh, incorporate a lot of these changes. But I think slowly people are catching up.
Yeah, particularly how big bundling has become. I feel like we kind of go through like waves in e-commerce, right, or whatever. And so bundling is definitely, y'all definitely caught the wave there. So that was good that you were on it and doing it well in that regard. So it is pretty nice. I don't know, Carl, if you have more questions about that, like as far as the cart transform API specifically, but I think FoxSell does some unique stuff with meta objects and meta fields that I was hoping to talk about today too.
Were
So
you hoping to, Taylor? Were
I
you
was
hoping to
hoping.
do?
Fingers
Okay, well,
crossed.
I will consider that. I did have one more question. Obviously, bundles are the clear use case for cart transformations. Are there any other use cases you've come across that people have taken advantage of cart transformations? And then Taylor, you
Yeah,
can ask your question.
yeah, actually, so there are, like I was saying, there are two types of ways you can actually do bundling, but there are actually three types of ways. One is expand, one is merge, and the third is update. And update is the operation that is only available for Shopify Plus stores. That is basically updating a line item or updating an item in the cart based on the user inputs on the checkout or based on different user inputs. So recently, a lot of people have been doing different taxes for different states, and they are able to do that using the update operation, where you get the input uh, based on like which state it is, and then you apply a certain transformation to the cart based on what state it is and what's the taxes are for that state, and then you apply those as an update operation. So that's also something that a lot of people have been doing.
So when you
Uh,
say input from the customer, really the only input you would have is what? The billing address and the shipping
so
address?
I think a lot of people are doing what they're doing is they are adding a drop down on the cart and asking the customer to select their state and adding those input to cart attributes and accessing those cart attributes within the function. So that way people are doing it, and a lot of people are doing free gifts as well with not just bundling but free gifts with cart transform, doing a lot of shipping stuff, warranty stuff. That is also something that people can do. Basically, you have a PDP, you're actually buying a pretty expensive item, you want to add a warranty to it, there's a checkbox there, you check the checkbox, and suddenly using cart transform you can add a warranty and the product within that product. So
So
that way it becomes easy.
what would be the benefit of doing it that way versus just making a call in JavaScript to the cart API, the REST API?
Becomes easier for the customer to understand that they are buying a warranty for a particular product and not like something as a whole. So for example, let's say you're ordering 5 6 items, and those are there in the cart, and you just want warranty with, let's say, one expensive item. So what you can do is you can actually just do a checkbox, and that particular item would have like a bundled up view on the checkout that says, okay, with this you have ordered a warranty as well, but not with the complete order, right? So it becomes very easy for the customer to not get confused that, okay, if anything breaks in my order, I'm warranted, right? So that is also a lot of use cases. Then gift cards are another use cases where, let's say, you have like a gift as a product, right? Like for greeting cards, let's say. So you're ordering a cake and you want a greeting card with it, or you want um, buddy caps with it, all that sort of things. So you can just select that there on the PDP and then just bundle it on the checkout. So that way there are a lot of use cases, but primarily the use case is mostly when you're combining a similar set of items together. Essentially, that can be clubbed under a subcategory of bundling as the main category. But yeah, there are infinite use cases with card transforms, I feel.
Very good. Well,
Yeah,
thank
I
you,
feel,
Prakhar.
yeah. Do you want to talk more about card transform? Because I have a lot in
Let's
terms
do it.
of,
Let's go deeper into card transform. That's cool.
no,
We can always get to meta fields and meta objects later, or bring you back on for round two. That's
uh,
like not off the table.
oh yeah, I'd be open to that. But essentially, what I wanted to pitch in was, um, so like I mentioned, return, right? There is return that can actually that can actually integrate with bundling apps. There are so many different categories of apps that can actually leverage the bundling side of things. One is definitely returns. The other would be the analytics tools, A/B testing tools. That is something that they can actually use, because what happens is whenever a bundle is ordered and it breaks down into individual SKUs, the problem becomes how many bundles am I selling? Because now all the analytics are regarding the individual SKUs. How many individual SKUs are you selling? But how many bundles are you selling? That is one major question that sometimes you can't answer, which is such a basic thing you would like to have the information about, right? So that is also one thing that a lot of A/B testing tools can do. And recently, I was talking to one and I was telling them how you can integrate with all the apps, all the bundle apps at once, because you don't need to query our data. So that way, I think if anybody wants to talk to me about how we can integrate with bundles very effectively, I'm very open to that idea. But of course, like uh, it comes with a certain limitations as well. Doing bundling via card transform, like you can't use subscriptions with that, which is like the biggest challenge when it comes to bundling. Like every FNB who's doing bundles, they want to do subscriptions. You have protein bars, you want subscriptions. You have health drinks, you want subscriptions. Sadly, you can't do bundling with subscriptions, and that is the major use case that people ask us about. So that is one major drawback right now. The other things is, of course, you can't publish to other sales channel apart from online store. So you can't. I think the primary reason for that is the sales channel. When you publish a product on another sales channel, uh, the order flows goes through their checkout, and of course Shopify can't control their checkout. So essentially, if in order to run functions, it has to be on Shopify checkout. So that is one other drawback, but I'm not sure we can do something about that. So yeah, it comes with its own challenges. It comes with how the functions are actually being executed, how the data has been structured for functions. Because for cart transform, you need actual variant IDs, actual product IDs in order to do bundling. You can't set rules very easily, because you have to tell, okay, if I expand this particular product, what all variant IDs do I need to expand it to? So you need access to all those variant IDs. And so essentially, what the problem with function is that when you're storing that many variant IDs, especially in a case of, let's say, mix and match, where there are hundred of products customer can choose from, and you need to have access to all those variant IDs, the the function limitations becomes an issue, where you can have 10 KB meta fields inside a function, and if it's more than that, it just stops showing the meta fields. So you can't access those variants anymore, and you can't bundle. And similarly, because you're doing bundling, the output is very large for a Shopify function. Shopify function in a black box is, you get input, you apply business logic, and you get an output. Now, when an output becomes very large, then also function throws an error, because it's a very large output. So that's also the major problems that we've been facing in terms of, supporting bigger and bigger bundles. And apart from that, I feel there are so many things that can be improved in cart transform. But of course, like, it's so recent technology, it's getting there. There have been so many developments there. So yeah, I'm pretty hopeful about the future of card transform.
Yeah,
If
that's
you could
awesome.
hit, if you could have Shopify make one change for you on that cart transform, what would it be?
Oh, one change. One change would definitely be, I think they're already working on it, but one change would definitely be to be able to support more than one card transform function per store per app. So I think right now the problem becomes, like, for example, we do a lot of bundlings. We do mix and match, we do volume discounts, we do fixed bundles, we do cross sell bundles, all that sort of stuff. The problem is that everything is just into one function. So our input query limit has reached, because we need different line item properties for different kind of bundlings. Our input query limit has reached. Our binary size for the Rust function is almost 250 KB. So if I make any one line of change, it just increases more than 250 KB. And the problem is the code is not optimized, unoptimized. Code is a lot. Because it's trying to do a lot of things. So if we are able to split the functions into, let's say, four different functions, which one does volume, one does mix and match, one does fixed, one does, let's say, cross sell, then we are able to reduce the query inputs for each function, because everyone would get only the inputs that they need. And second would be the binary size of each function was reduced, because they are only doing what they want to do. So essentially, that is going to be like a really big change, and it would be really, really helpful. Um, apart, just one thing you asked, right? Don't wanna, don't
He
wanna
has a
just keep
list.
on. Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah,
more
I
one
have a list.
things?
But I'm just
No,
saying, I hear sometimes people at Shopify listen to this or are aware of it. So maybe, throw it out there into the universe for card. They may deliver. You never know. They like,
yeah, I think it's pretty amazing what people at Shopify are able to do
yeah.
with Shopify functions. I just love working with Shopify functions. That just makes our life so easier, and that makes the brand's life more easier, because they are able to count on us. So that's actually pretty amazing. What they've built with Shopify functions. And regarding card transform, yeah, I think for this is it for now.
Okay. Staying humble. That's good. Now, Taylor, I know you had something you wanted to discuss,
Well, I'm
and
trying to decide if we should
you're very
just bring
important.
Prakhar on for another time to talk about meta fields, meta objects, because I think we also want to talk about another important part of just running a business and being a developer and solving hard problems, right? As well, just some of the non-technical stuff. So I want to make sure we have time for both of those things. So if we can get Prakhar to promise he'll definitely come back on for another time, I think maybe we can talk about that instead of meta fields and meta objects and stuff, and maybe save that for the next time. Just know FoxSell heavily uses it, and I'm a fan of that because then it makes it easy for me to do stuff on themes with it. So I like that, and I want more devs to do what you guys are doing, but maybe everybody else would be really interested to hear about some of the non-technical stuff that y'all have had to overcome as well to be successful in this space.
No, I think one thing I just wanted to put out there is what we believed when we started working on FoxSell. One thing that was very clear was that we need to leverage Shopify as much as we can. So this is, I'm still talking about the tech side of things. We need to leverage Shopify as much as we can. And the reason for that is actually that whenever you're using Shopify, no matter how talented you are, no matter how skillful you are as an engineer, you can always assume that Shopify will be able to handle scale, security, much better than you can, no matter how amazing you are, right, as a single engineer. So the way you can uh, build trust with the brands is actually by relying a lot on Shopify. So, for example, meta fields and meta objects is a great way of doing that. You try to leverage Shopify CDN in order to serve your content really fast, and everything is server side. So so a lot of people or a lot of apps, what they do is they put everything into their window object or into their or into their particular JavaScript object. So as soon as the page loads, then their script loads, then their object is populated, and then you can actually take action on that. So leveraging meta fields and meta objects increases your performance, increases the reliability, because now to serve your particular objects, you don't need any script that is actually served from your CDN. You can actually use Shopify directly for that. Similarly, Shopify functions is the other thing where no matter how big store comes, like even if they're doing $100 million worth of revenue, they're doing 100,000 orders per month or per day, it doesn't matter. No matter how big the store is, you can handle them. You can bundle stuff for them. It's never going to fail unless Shopify fails. So that level of reliability, if you're able to give the brands, and it's so hard to give them if you're using your own infrastructure. That's why everyone is on high alert when it's BFCM, because they want to scale their systems, they want to make sure everything is okay. We were doing, it's actually a true story that me and Adi thought we'll be awake for a complete BFCM 4 days. We'll switch support, we'll take times. And there was literally zero support tickets because people have actually set up their bundles before that. And there was no problem with bundling because it's Shopify
Good. I
functions,
just
right?
got mine finished before BFCM, so I didn't have to bother you.
Yeah, but did you face any issue with bundling? No, right?
No, I didn't have any issues at all. Like other than like I said, which y'all are great in sport docs and everything. So, but yeah, we didn't have any problems with bundles not working, like or failing or anything like that or whatever. It
Exactly.
worked just how we wanted it to. So it worked out great.
Yeah, because
The stuff that I
Shopify
had to figure out and get deployed was the third or fourth version of a custom bundler using FoxSell. So that was more my stuff, client side, making that all look how they wanted, nothing to do with y'all. So thankfully the tools
yeah.
were there.
Yeah, because Shopify does the scaling for you. Because Shopify is awake for you. During BFCM, Shopify teams are awake. They are scaling their infra. They are handling all the scale. They are actually worried about it while you sleep like a baby. That's the power of Shopify functions. That's the power of meta fields and meta objects. So that's why I want everybody to leverage that. And that is pretty amazing technology. But yeah, about the other thing. Do you have any questions in mind or should I just start?
No, I mean, off the top of my head, it's one of those things. I think we talked about this a little bit beforehand, as far as like there's a lot of stuff that comes maybe easier to some folks than others, or simpler. Maybe not easier, but it's, a lot of the technological stuff. Like it's simple in the sense that we know to some degree what the limits are. We know what the hurdles are. We can implement a fix, troubleshoot or whatever. But there's a lot of intangibles. I'm not sure what the best way to describe that is when you're trying to run a public app on Shopify that is more related to running a business. And so you're running a business, you're having to deal with people, you're having to get customers, you're having to figure out marketing. There's a lot of other really hard parts of running a public Shopify app. So I didn't know if there were things that stuck out to you, that you find are very helpful, or that you get a lot of questions about, maybe, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I think first of all, I see a lot of people jumping onto the solution uh, without thinking about how are they going to sell the app. Sell the app as in sell it to the brands, because they think like this problem is really interesting. Uh, but I think what we need to do when we are launching an app, we need to take a step back and we need to decide and we need to research about who are we building this for. So for example, let's say in our case, we decided with bundling app. And if you ask anyone, that is like such a stupid decision because there are million of bundle apps in the app store doing really well. In such a crowded space, how are you building a bundle app? But the thing is, like you need to figure out what your audience is. Like there are bundle apps that are built for volume. Like a newer store would use them, bigger store would use them, every store would use them, store of every size could use them. Uh, and there are bundle apps that are super expensive, amazing quality, where bigger stores, they're designed for very big stores, right? So there is a whole spectrum of apps that are there in the app store. So how are you launching a bundle app? So in order to do that, you have to understand what is your customer segment, who are you building for, and how are you differentiating from the apps that already exists. It's not always going to be like a very shiny idea that you jump on and then forget about it. But how are you actually solving a problem for the brand in a way where people are not able to solve? How are you differentiating your product, and what is your customer segment? You can't target 100% of the market. What a lot of people think is it's super easy to target 100% of the market, but you can't. If there's so many apps, you have to think about that the piece of pie is so huge, but you still have to figure out how to get your piece of pie. Um, so essentially, you need to figure out, as in, what is the kind of segment that you are solving the problem for, and how are you differentiating your product. So for example, when we were coming up with the bundle idea, what we wanted to think was, okay, so Shopify just launched a new cart transform API. Now a lot of people are using discounts for bundles, and they are already working with, let's say, 1,000 brands, right? So if they now use cart transform, they cannot migrate all of their merchants to cart transform from their current systems, because merchants has already set in their ways. They are used to the UI of how their bundle builder looks, or on the checkout customers are used to it, so you can't migrate. So that is one thing where you can actually leverage the fact where if I start with a newer technology, the older players might not be very fast in migrating to new technology. That is one thing. The other is, what is the problem that still exists in the market? So what we saw was, like for example, as an app dev, and I don't mean any disrespect to any app devs, we don't know anything about e-commerce. We don't know anything about brands. So for example, when a brand comes to you and say, this is what I want, if you are giving them a generic design of how their bundle should look, you don't know anything about the brand, uh, it might not convert anything, because the brand knows the best about the brand. They know how their customer behaves. They know what converts. They know the purchasing, like purchasing behavior of the brand, of the customer. So they know exactly if this option is given with this option, this is how a customer would choose it, right? So essentially, our idea was to give the power of controlling the storefront experience in the hands of the brand, and not use a very generic design that a lot of apps were giving out, essentially. So that is how we targeted our market size. That's why we also sell to a little premium brands, which are working with either devs or agencies. Uh, and that is how you want to see where you can make a difference and how you can sell. So even in a competitive space like bundles, you can make a little bit, you can actually gather a little bit of customers there. So the idea is, just not jump onto the problem as soon as you see a very shiny problem. That is one thing. So that was one of the challenges that we faced when we were actually coming up with an app and coming up with an idea. And then the second is actually figuring out your source of acquisition. Like, a lot of people say don't target App Store. A lot of people say target App Store. So you need to figure out for your particular problem, what is your channel of acquisition? Is it the App Store, or is it like non-App Store, word of mouth, referrals? Of course, there are pros and cons with both of them. App Store is a very tricky journey, especially when in a crowded space. There are so many apps having 1,500 reviews, and you have to compete with them. So App Store becomes a very tricky space because Shopify relies very heavily on ratings, heavily on reviews, and you can't do anything about it. Like, imagine like you are not benefited enough by 10 5-star reviews as you're harmed by a 1 1-star review. So the stakes are that high on the App Store. And essentially, it's very difficult to get a review from a brand, right? It has to be at a point where you know it's going to be a 5-star. You can't tell them to give a 5-star because that's against the TOS. So you can't tell them give a 5-star. So essentially, you need to control their behavior in a way where they are happy, and now you ask for a review unbiasedly, and then you can be sure that they'll give a 5-star. So that is the idea. And that is why if you see a lot of the reviews, everything is about, okay, amazing customer support, amazing customer support, amazing customer support, because it's essentially the only way of getting reviews. I mean, don't hate the player, right? Hate the game. That is the problem with the App Store. But essentially, that is, if you're able to get installs on the App Store, the organic installs get so high that you don't need any other another channel. And of course, the growth with other sources of acquisition are very, very slow. So if you're doing partnerships, if you're doing outbound, if you're doing word of mouth, that actually going to take a very long time in getting to that exponential level of growth that you can get from the App Store. So essentially, the idea is that you need to figure out the source of acquisition, like where are you getting your installs from? And I think if you're targeting App Store, which has the potential to let you grow exponentially, uh, that for that I think build for Shopify is like very important. I am very surprised. So recently, Matt D'Souza from White Bundle did a poll about a lot of questions, and one of those was how important the BFS is. And a lot of people said actually it's not important. It's not what it's not helping at all, or the efforts are too high as compared to the results. But I think if you're trying to do a lot of things, and if you are not sticking to one thing, uh, definitely it becomes difficult to grow also, and then maybe BFS is not for you. But for us, for example, we just want to do Shopify because that's why we are relying heavily on Shopify technology. We just want to do Shopify. So for us, BFS becomes like a very important thing. It actually helps brands decide what they want to do, because if every competitor in your industry, in your category has BFS, then not having a BFS is definitely a disadvantage. And in your industry, if nobody has BFS, then having a BFS is a very big advantage. So essentially, not having a BFS is something okay when I think you're targeting things apart from Shopify. But if you've committed definitely to Shopify that, okay, I'm going to be using Polaris, I'm going to be using AppBraze, I'm going to be using functions, I'm going to be using meta fields, then I think BFS is like something that you should definitely get. And that actually helps you a lot. So yeah, I think that is a lot of things that I've found that we had to do a lot of uh, trial and error before figuring this stuff out. I think I've been saying or I've been talking for a lot of time. I think it would be helpful if you guys would also
No,
talk a
it's
little
it's
bit.
it's good stuff. It's like you don't want to like jump in because it's
Yeah.
you touched on a bunch of like good and important parts. I think figuring out everybody has this idea of you know find a problem worth solving, which is true. Like if you and not just a problem that you want to solve, right? Like or that you think is interesting, but like one that like merchants will actually have. But understand that like that's not everything. So it's there's other pieces to that. And I know there's a lot of back and forth on the whole like reviews and that being derived a lot from customer support. But I do understand like the position that app devs are in a lot of times with that because, you know, you're when a merchant downloads an app, they just expect it to work. So like they're already downloading it, like they're not impressed by the fact that it works. They expect it to work. And so like that's really the best time that you have to ask for a review is during that customer support because the only way that you could potentially control an app just working and them leaving a review is when they've tried 4 other apps that didn't work. And then they finally try your app and they're like, yes, this now works. But all those other things, you can't control that variable versus a customer support, interaction or something like that. Totally makes sense. And yeah, built for
Yeah,
Shopify. Yeah, a lot of back and forth on that. So that's interesting. You're pro, so that's good. Pro
no, I
built for
think
Shopify if your channel is
definitely,
the app store.
definitely. I think definitely getting the badge is important. But I think there are some issues with the review process right now, as of course pointed out by a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially Kirill, on Twitter and Shopify taking that action. So I think that is the one thing that I love most about Shopify is that they listen.
Yeah.
And it's like as simple as just listening is something that makes you feel so important.
Mhm.
So that is one really nice thing that Shopify does.
Yeah, we'll have to pull
Uh,
that up. There was a tweet from was it Etan that had posted about that. We'll have to I'll find that and put that in the show notes for those that didn't see that. That was Shopify listening about a lot of the issues, a lot of the feedback from the Built for Shopify because some of the stuff I'm not a UX designer, so I'll go ahead and start with this. But some of the stuff that these people are being asked to do to get Built for Shopify was just like, what? Like that's just ridiculous. And so it was weird that it was a request that was being gated behind like Built for Shopify. It's like it's one of those like I get that this could be like this feels like a very that's an optional thing, not like something that would get you to lose, especially for people that were going to lose their Built for Shopify status. So there were a lot of like good improvements that rolled out from that. I'll try to find that. We'll post that in the show notes too for those that might have missed that on the Twitters. But no.
yeah, I think that was amazing. And one more just story about like a review thing that I just wanted to share. So back in when we started out, we didn't have like a bundle builder template that came out with the app. So we built like custom templates as a section for a lot of brands, but not something as an app block that came with the app. So what we used to do was we used to get on call with the brands and install, as in copy that section into their theme and then set up the bundle builder. So when we were doing that, we were getting a lot of reviews because we were setting up the theme, we were doing the CSS for them, styling, and then we used to ask for a review where we set up the bundle builder, can you give a review? Then we launched a self-serve app block that worked out of the box. And that's when the review frequency dropped because they were able to set up the bundle builder on their own. And they didn't reach out to support, they didn't reply on to the support. So then that is also when we realized, okay, why there must be some apps out there who are doing uh, like introducing bug on purpose just to get reviews, and that is not the experience that you want in apps, right? Like for example, our primary source of acquisition is not App Store. Our primary source of acquisition is people like Taylor who wants to use us, who talks about us. those kind of people. So that has been a primary source of acquisition. So we don't need to do stuff like this. But uh, essentially, there are apps who are doing stuff like this, and it is actually working. That is the bad part. The bad part is not that they are doing. The bad part is that it is working for them. So that is actually one big issue with reviews and ratings and App Store. But if you have to crack the App Store game, if you have to get installs from there, you have to play the game. There's no other way.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Taylor, I'm noticing the time, and I think if you want, you'd be able to talk about the changelog. It might be time for us to begin transitioning, but I could listen
Okay.
to you talk all day, Prakhar. So,
Yeah, you will have to. That's what we say is everyone that comes on is going to have to come on at least one more time.
yeah,
So
if you didn't read the contract you signed yet, Prakhar, it's down there. It's small,
Yeah.
1 point font, but it's there.
it was also implicit because you didn't actually sign. But like if you logged on, this is one of those you accepted the cookie consent banner situation of if you joined the call, this is you agreed to the terms that you didn't actually get to see. Um, but yeah, we can start moving into changelog um and going from there. So
So if you're
um
listening, you want to grab a cup of coffee or something, go ahead.
yeah,
Taylor.
bug out real quick. I did try to. So April 1st, the changelog was just chirping off like mad, and so I tried to whittle this down to just 5 things for highlights. But obviously, people need to go back and check that because it's huge. So okay, so the first one was I don't know if you saw that y'all had seen this, and I'm just learning about all this MCP server stuff that we're supposed to be using with AI and all this other stuff now. But Shopify launched one now, so that way you can use Dev Assistant directly in Cursor Chat, Windsurf, Cloud Desktop, all that stuff. And so that was pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing.
I still have yet to implement this, but we'll link up to that. There's a little repo and stuff too. Pretty neat. People that have been using it have been pretty happy with it. So Prakhar is a fan. There.
Have you
So
used it, Prakhar? You
No,
already
no,
used it?
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
okay,
Yeah.
but
I'm anxious to try it too,
excited about it. Excited.
Yeah,
especially
excited.
if it
Very
does
excited about it.
GraphQL.
Yeah.
Especially if it does GraphQL. Yeah, that's its main bag. It's the Dev Assistant, but like just directly in your editor. So that's pretty cool. The other one there is, and I saw Patrick Milligan has been pushing for this as well to help out with customer accounts and extensibility and stuff like this. But there's a new webhook to track the updates in checkout and accounts configuration. So he was pushing for this really hard, got a lot of like good dev feedback, and so now there is a webhook specifically for when people have upgraded their thank you and order status pages. And so this is really, really important for devs that are working with anything in checkout, just to be able to let know that at least until we have to worry about this until it's actually completely deprecated. So nice little thing there. Great job, Patrick, for championing that and for Shopify devs kind of rallying to that and promoting that. Another new guy here, Liquid now supports for OKLCH colors. So this is I don't typically utilize this or whatever. I don't know. Like this is I'm a plain Jane kind of guy, I guess, or whatever with most of my stuff,
Hex code?
RGBA and everything. So your Prakhar, is this something y'all use at all?
No, hex code. Just
So
hex.
yeah, to
Not
say
even
like
RGBs. Hex code. That's it.
yeah, like it just depends. Like on, but for the most part, yeah, primarily hex codes. I usually use RGB when the designer gives them to me, and I don't want to go through and figure out the hex. I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna copy and paste this sucker over, dump them into a CSS variable, and call it a day, man. And so,
Oh, no, if
but
you just copy that RGB onto Google directly,
yeah,
it will give you
yeah,
the
and
hex
just
code.
change it over to the hex. Yeah, I probably could do that. That's for the most part, yeah, like that's an easy thing. But this is cool. At least there's a new liquid filter for that. So color two, it's color underscore two underscore OKLCH. Which there is also that too. There's support for that for also color two RGB, which I didn't realize was a filter either necessarily. That's kind of cool. For those of us that are trying to go back and forth. So a couple of different things in there to check out. Color filters are getting pretty good in Liquid. So I don't know if that's hinting at something for the future other than that's just pretty neat to have. Okay. The other thing here, we're on number 4 of 5. So if you've got into your coffee pretty well at this point.
Number 4.
We should have something like that. So for developer preview now, local host based development for your Shopify apps. So this was kind of neat, right? So instead of having to worry about spinning up a separate tunnel or whatever kind of type thing, you can just do this all completely in local dev now. So on Shopify CLI 3.77 or higher. So there's now a flag that you can pass in for using localhost. I
Really?
thought that was pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
I think
That's
this
a newbie.
is pretty amazing because I think I'm assuming that Shopify started working on it when last time that Cloudflare tunnel outage happened, where
Mhm.
people were just not able to do like app development. They were just not able to run the tunnels, and Shopify just took it in their hands, and they're like, okay, we're not depending on any other thing than Shopify.
We
And I
gotta,
think,
we gotta
yeah,
make sure something there needs to be a good plan B, right?
yeah,
So that was
exactly,
everyone freaked out about that.
yeah,
So there is a note in here though too, not compatible with specific features like directly invoking your app, like webhooks, app proxy, flow actions, stuff like that, or like POS. So like just be aware there are some limitations with it, but like you said, this is something that they probably did start working on after that whole Cloudflare incident, and so they've obviously made progress. I'm sure they're going to invest some more in this as well. So they're definitely working hard. Um, Other neat thing that I saw in here as well. Check out UI extensions. The attributes API now supports removing cart and checkout attributes, which is pretty neat because everybody's using cart and checkout attributes for stuff, and so being able to just add and then remove it when you don't need it kind of type thing, so it's not causing all this oddness or whatever in orders and stuff like that or whatever would be very ideal. So it's nice to see that this is now supported and stuff. So the attributes API. There you go.
Amazing.
That was
Taylor,
5 out of 5.
wonderful job as always.
Thank you.
Thanks for rising those up for us. I was a little bummed though when you did the local CLI development thing because I'm listening like, oh, maybe I can finally cancel my ngrok subscription. But then you said it doesn't support webhooks, and I do need that.
Well, just use Cloudflare. Kirill has a whole write-up on how to use Cloudflare tunnels, and you can do it
I
for
know,
free.
but you know how it is. Like I have so much time, and am I going to devote it to fix something that's working fine and it costs me a little bit of money every year,
Well,
or am I going to use it to talk to
I just
Prakhar?
I just figured if a schlub like me could figure it out, like you'd be fine. But
That's true. I probably
look
could
at
do
Prakhar.
it. Oh, there he goes. Thanks, Prakhar.
I keep forgetting about the reactions. That's awesome.
Which is interesting because when I started up Riverside, it actually specifically told me, "Hey, by the way, I disabled your reactions." I'm like, "Oh, great, that's good." But apparently, it didn't
Prakar's
do
like,
that for
no,
Prakhar. So,
reactions. Let's do
no,
it.
not for me.
yeah. Oh man. Anyway, well, thank you,
No,
Taylor. It is very helpful, and we'll
For sure.
definitely put those in the show notes. Check those
Yep.
out. And now that you've endured all of this, we're down to everyone's favorite third half of the show, which is picks of the week. So I'll go first since I have not talked much in the last few minutes. I've been staring at the squirrels outside. They're very active today.
was
My
that
pick of the
boring, huh?
week. No, it's just I can't stare at the screen for too long without needing a little break for my eyes.
I get it.
You know how it is getting old. My pick of the week is actually what you're looking at right now, sort of. So I had been
Prakhar?
rocking a 2019 Intel MacBook Pro for 6 years now. And if you've ever used Intel and then gone to the Apple Silicon, it's like a 9-day difference. And so I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, when the M4s came out, I was debating going back to my usual 16-inch MacBook Pro, but they're so expensive, and I don't need all that horsepower for web development, really, you know. And so I thought I'll take a risk. I'll do the 15-inch MacBook Air, which I was afraid it'd be too small for me, but I love it. Not only do I love the Apple Silicon, obviously, but it's not that much smaller. It's much lighter, and it was a lot cheaper. So really happy.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's my pick of the week.
it's
15-inch
this.
MacBook Air M4.
But that's amazing, no? Like when you switch from Intel to Mac, any M series, and apart from using the Docker, everything is just so buttery smooth.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you, Karl. I'm happy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the nice thing too is the other one I had that what was the name they called it? The touch pad along the top
Touch
row.
bar.
Touch bar, thank you. And
Oh
so
yeah.
every time I'm doing something like I can't tell you the number of times I changed my screen brightness when I was typing because I would inadvertently brush up against that thing or whatever.
I think everybody hated that thing. Like it was just one of
Yeah,
those things that it seemed so cool when it came out, but it was just
yeah,
so poorly done that it was just like, oh, this is just a shiny thing that actually did not deliver.
yeah, yeah.
Kudos
It
to them
was,
for getting rid of it.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it was amazing when you saw it in somebody else's laptop. But as soon as you got a laptop with touch bar, you were like, oh no, it's not as nice as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think yeah,
Anyway.
Apple is very good at getting rid of things and then bringing them back.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
it's
we'll
pretty
get one
amazing.
that actually works in the future that'll actually be worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, Prakhar, did you think of one?
Yes. So
Oh, you said
one
you had
is,
two, right?
yeah, I had one thing that I think Taylor already told us in the changelog, which was the Shopify related thing, which was the webhooks. But leaving that. So I thought my pick of the week should be in the video also, which is this Holyland mic, which is actually
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
dope. It's pretty amazing. The quality is really good. It comes with the Thunderbolt connector, it comes with a Type C connector, and it's really good for the mic quality, for all the calls. And if you're just gonna buy it, just buy it. It's actually pretty amazing. It's pretty slick,
You heard
pretty
it
great.
here,
Nice.
folks. If you're gonna buy it, just buy it.
Just buy it. Well,
Truer words have never been
I'm
spoken.
glad you picked that because I was going to ask you after we were done because I was looking at mics for when we go to editions.dev because
Yeah, me
Carl's
too.
actually coming now, you
Yeah,
know.
Yeah.
we are thinking
So
also of bringing this mic only.
yeah, do it. Yeah, we might have to pick something up because I've got a little mic that I can hook up to like, my phone that like it's like a Shure mic or whatever, but if you're talking to other people, I think we're gonna need to figure something out. So I'll have to check those out.
Yeah.
Good pick,
So
man.
it comes with
Yeah.
two mics. So you can
Oh, it comes
actually,
with
so
two.
this is
Nice.
this is
So
the
you
other
have a
one.
friend. That's nice.
Yeah. So it's like
As
me
a
and Adi.
friend.
So me and Adi were also thinking about like talking to some people and doing that sort of thing. So we thought, okay, we'll just get this. And this comes with two mics, so it's pretty amazing. Plus, how are you liking my quality of sound? Is it like good or
It
is it like
sounds good.
muffled? No, if
No, it
it
doesn't
sounds
sound
good,
muffled
then
at
it's
all. It
pretty,
sounds good.
Way
it's
better than
amazing.
Taylor's.
Rude.
Dude, I think Taylor's setup is like pretty dope, man.
Yeah, he does
It's
I would
have.
like,
say it shouldn't have. I've got like a Rode mic and everything in here, or whatever, or Rode. I don't know, whatever. And so like it should sound great. Should sound
but
it
your
should, but I don't
camera
know.
quality is like pretty amazing, no? It just focuses on
Yeah,
Taylor and it's like beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
it does a good job. I got this. It's one of those Logitech. This is not my pick. I have a specific pick, but it's a
No,
Logitech
this counts.
Brio. This is a Brio Logitech Brio. So it is a nice camera. I get comments on it all the time. So and it wasn't crazy expensive. I don't think when I got it. So I don't remember. It was a while ago.
$6,000,
Six.
$7,000.
No, well, did you see some of those that are like 500 or 600? Those I can't remember what that was, but then people were getting them and they were overheating and they were like, "This is
Oh, right.
terrible." It's like you can't make it through a call without it getting too hot and shutting it down. So it's like,
Oh my God.
okay, but it's like $600 mic or camera or whatever. So no thanks. All right, so now I will do my pick. I stole Prakhar's thunder on the webhook, so I am sorry for that.
That's fine.
But for my pick, Shopify related, but Desi.dev. So this is from Alex, and we're gonna have to have him on at some point. But this is a just super cool builder, like using Polaris to build out like just Shopify like admin screens, and like you can do like Polaris is an extensions and everything else now. And so as a front end guy learning Polaris, building a Shopify app, it is super nice to just be able to like build something out really quickly, like visually, and then it will like export code as well.
What kind
So
of format is it exported as? That was my big question
Yeah.
about it.
what kind of format is it?
React?
It's React,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe. So sorry,
Alex,
bud.
man, we gotta talk.
That's
Well, there's a few components, man. Let's do it.
well, yeah, maybe him and Kirill can like team up and
Yeah.
do like a spin-off version or whatever. But it does, yeah, React. It's just really nice because, like I said, for me, obviously I'm just like copying and pasting like components or whatever for then from the docs and then like playing around with a little bit or whatever just to like take a really long time to build something because I'm not going to build everything out in Figma and then drop over and do all that stuff. Like I'm not doing that, man. Like I'm doing it in code, calling it good. Maybe I'll sketch something out or whatever. But this now, very, very nice. Like you can just build it like I rebuilt something. I accidentally deleted something, and it deleted everything. And then I messaged Alex, I was like, can you put an undo button in there because I just deleted all my work. But I mean, it took me like, I don't know, like 5 minutes to get it all back. Like it's very quick, really really nice, and so that was really really cool. So that's my pick. Alex is making my life a million times easier there, and we are going to have
Thank
him
you,
on
Alex.
hopefully at some
Yeah.
point here to talk
Shout out to
a
Alex.
little bit more about this. So
Yeah.
You're the
Yeah.
real hero, Alex. Forget this
Yeah.
Prakhar guy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Oh, rude.
Actually, Alex posted about this tweet that somebody actually said that they need an undo button, and I did it. And now we know who was the person who asked for the undo
It was
button.
Taylor.
It was me. It's like, oh, Taylor, freaking idiot. Like, okay, fine, I'll put an undo button in there. You big old dum dum.
Uh,
He was very kind about it, actually. So he
yeah,
was just like, oh yeah, yeah. So
yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. Like I also got on a call with Alex just before the launch,
yeah,
and what he built actually blew my mind. It was pretty
yeah,
amazing. Actually
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, everyone's gonna be mad at me. I told him he's not like even his ideas for charging. I was like, that's not nearly enough. Like, you need to charge more than twice that. Like, so when he raises
Yeah,
prices, everyone can blame me. I told him he's like, it's insanely
yeah,
cheap what he's like trying to give it away for. So,
Ooh, get it while you can.
yep.
yeah. Yeah, we had a long conversation about pricing as well with Alex.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
pricing's hard. That's you should have talked about that. Like when we were talking about maybe next time, like meta fields, meta
Yeah,
objects, and
right.
app pricing.
oh yeah, app pricing is like a pretty hard nut to crack.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
And Taylor, well, Prakhar, I'm sure you never feel this way. Taylor, maybe you do sometimes. But when I see people do really cool projects like that, I sometimes feel like, man, that's a real programmer. I just do CRUD
Yep,
apps. Like my entire career
that's
is
a
just CRUD apps, right?
that's a
yeah,
real dev right there. That's
That's right.
yeah. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll go back to being a social worker. That's I was good at that.
They've got this handled. They don't need me
no,
here anymore.
yeah, exactly. Like I think a lot of people are building so much cool stuff. Like it's just
Yeah.
mind blowing. No, like yeah, the way they're building it out. I think I really like that one also, where somebody did like I think somebody from demoplayground.co. What they did was they got the tweet from Matt D'Souza and actually vibe coded like a chart based analysis of that tweet, like how many yes
Oh, I
was
saw
there,
that.
how
Yeah,
many
yeah.
no's was there, what was the positive impact, what was the negative impact. So I think that was actually pretty nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'll try.
this is
I
a,
remember seeing that. I'll try to put that in the show
yeah,
notes too. That was really neat.
Man, I
yeah,
really
it's
like to
neat.
vibe code someday.
Yeah,
Damn it,
that's
cursor.
pretty.
I'm just trying to regular code. I'm not at the point where I can vibe code, so
Anyway.
So,
Well, you've done it again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour. You could have been coding, listening to the Liquid Weekly podcast. I was your host, Karl. With me, as always, with Taylor and Prakhar. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll
yes,
see you
thank you.
live here in a few months, a month and a half or so, right?
Weeks. We're
yes,
counting down to weeks now. That's awesome.
Bring me a
exactly.
t-shirt, okay?
Yeah, of course, of course, of
All
course.
right. Let's see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening. No.
Yes.